COVID taught us. Things
Yes,
can change
quickly.
very quickly, and we need to learn how to be flexible or agile and adapt to those changes because a plan can be great, but if at the end we deliver a product that our customer no longer needs, what good is our deliverable?
Good afternoon. Welcome to this fabulous Sunday, September 1st, with Project Mentor Pro. Today, we are kicking off a brand new legacy. I am super excited to introduce you to our guest today. Her name is Lee Carpenter, and she used to be the illustrious head of CPC's Project Management Department. She's here to tell all of you aspiring project managers out there how to um, how to become an exciting project manager, how to take the curriculum that you deserve and that you need to be an amazing project manager. And so without further ado, let's just get started. So, Lee, tell us a little bit about yourself today.
So, as you mentioned, I used to be over the project management program at the community college here, Central Piedmont, um, but it was for corporate continuing education. I always like to differentiate that because that's a little bit different than I call it the kids who are going to school to get a degree. This was a certificate program, and that's not how I started. I am an elementary education teacher by training,
Yes.
and did that, raised a family, and then my husband said, you know what, it's my job puts food on the table, but we're going to have 4 kids in college at the same time. You got to get a job that helps out a little bit more than teaching in the classroom. And so I got my project management professional certification and transitioned away from elementary, middle, high school to the community college, and now I work corporately using my project management. So it's been a little bit of a journey, but an exciting one.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you have a family, you have a husband, and you were still able to manage a career in project management. Not only did she manage a career, she was also able to run an entire project management school in our a local community college. And so I'm sure that you have seen so many people come in and out,
Absolutely.
including myself.
Mhm.
And so I just want you to know that you were so instrumental in helping me stay with the program, helping me when I was discouraged and wanted to give up. Run from that test, guys. That test is no joke. Believe me, it is 200 questions, 4 hours. And Lee, you were just my confidant, my mentor, and just so instrumental in helping me get through that. And so I want you to be able to share all your nuggets, your superpowers, and your magic with our illustrious audience today. And so, my first question for you is, what are the critical skills and knowledge areas that you emphasize in project management education?
Hmm. So a lot of it comes down to, I would say, organizing,
Okay.
planning, heavy emphasis on planning. And so through the
Mm.
courses, that is something we try to emphasize, teach how to do it. Sometimes we say in Candyland
Ah, yes, I
because
remember that. Yes, Candyland.
yes, because you are taking an exam to get this credential, and so we have to play by the exam rules.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes that takes some retraining of the brain because how we do project management in a corporate environment
Right.
can vary from what they want to see on the exam. And the exam says planning. Can you plan to the nth degree?
Yes.
And can you work with people?
Mm.
The soft skills are an
Yes.
important part. So that's something we emphasize as well. Um, and we like to provide practical hands-on application for
Okay.
that. I say we, even though I'm not there anymore, but I still help out with the students. And I tell them,
Awesome.
you've got to know these pieces, all the little details that go into the plan. if you want to be successful.
Yes, yes. I remember when I got my first project coordinator job, and I was sitting there thinking, wow, these are all of the concepts literally coming alive in front of me. And I remember my very first project kickoff. And so the textbook makes it seem one way, right? But then when you're actually on the job and you have your own personal team and you're either in a supportive role or you're actually managing the project, it's like, oh my goodness, these are the things that I remember Lee talking about. And so either you have a couple of choices. You try to react quickly, or you kind of possibly end up looking like a deer in headlights.
Learn to take a step back and
Yes.
think about it for a second.
Take a step back, breathe, and as a project manager, you and so many other people have taught us that we're like the conductor of the orchestra. We don't actually have to have all the answers. We just have to be in the room with the people who have the answers.
Right.
And so making sure that you can actually get those answers from the people in the room, what a skill and an art. So I know you've heard, and I've heard you probably say this a million times, project management is not a science. It is, but it's mostly an art.
It is. And you've got to develop those relationships with the people.
Yes.
And that's where the people part comes in, because you can have fantastic plans, but you need people to help you carry them out.
Absolutely.
And if your people don't like you, they can be quite the roadblock to carrying out your plan.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of learning how to play nice in the sandbox,
Absolutely.
I call it,
Yes.
to work with those individuals and get them on board with your project at hand.
I remember you teaching the stakeholder class.
Yes,
Do you remember that?
I do. And I use that information on a daily basis.
Wow. So I remember sitting in your class, and then all of a sudden you said, I'll be right back. And then you come through the door and you're dressed up and you started talking in a different language. And so that was kind of the beginning of our stakeholder education. And you had a wonderful exercise. We divided up into 4 groups and you gave us different scenarios. And so that really was an instrumental moment in helping us understand how difficult stakeholders can be. I remember you sharing an example when you were working, I believe it was one of your first opportunities. And was the person a diplomat?
Oh, they were the boss. I would say lack of diplomacy might have been a good description for them.
Okay. And I remember you sharing with us that you did something really special for them. I think maybe it was a kid getting them in school, private school, or...
Oh, okay. I vaguely do remember sharing that. And it came down to knowing what their need was.
Yes.
So I'm thinking of a different one. The person you're speaking about, they weren't a diplomat, but they had a high-level position. And they needed to get a child somewhere. And I
Yes.
knew that was a need, and I could help meet that need.
Yes.
It didn't cost me anything, except a little bit of time. But when you help someone like that, they're willing to help you. And I think people have to realize you don't help somebody to expect the help back.
Right.
You do it because you care about people.
Mm-hmm.
But when you show you care about people, it's amazing how much that will come back to be beneficial later on.
Yes. So when I think about stakeholder management, you were able to say, I can scratch your back if you will in turn do this for the project. And so I'm just curious. That was a great example of how your educational background actually helped you in project management. And I'm just wondering how many other project managers out there don't realize that their life experience today actually could benefit and help them get through those projects. What a great lesson to learn. And so let's move on to the next question. So tell me about how has the field of project management evolved over the years, and how has that influenced your approach to teaching?
So I would say the biggest influence I've seen probably in the last 5 to 7 years is the emphasis on Agile. And if people aren't familiar with Agile, they're like, what? But in the past, project management was, as I mentioned, very much about the plan. You put together this huge plan and you carry it through step by step by step by step all the way to the end.
Yes.
Now, Agile has come into play, not just in technical fields, but within business as well. And I like it because it says, you know what? Our plan may change. And I think anybody who has put together a plan, whether it's for a vacation or for work, has seen that things can change. COVID taught us things can change
quickly.
Very quickly. And we need to learn how to be flexible or agile and adapt to those changes, because a plan can be great, but if at the end we deliver a product that our customer no longer needs, what good is our deliverable?
So true. So true.
And so Agile allows us to do regular check-ins, get pieces delivered to them a little more quickly. Say, hey, here's a piece of it. Does this work? If it does, we keep on moving so that at the end, it may look slightly different than where we started, but it's what the customer needs and wants.
Yes, yes. And to my surprise, Agile has kind of been on the scene for the last 20 years.
It has, and it's been very much in the technical industry. My son is a tech guy, and so I hear him talking all the time about sprints and deliverables and
SDLC.
Yes, all the Agile terminology. But I've been involved with trying to help implement Agile within the business side of where I work. And so even that area is trying to figure out how can we adapt some of these principles. Maybe not to the extreme that our tech teams do, but how can we bring in some of the principles that are there and make those a best practice to deliver a little bit quicker and, again, to meet our customer needs.
Yes, and so to the listener out there, Agile is very, very influential today with project management. And influential on your role and responsibility. I would definitely say that you probably won't find a company out there that's going to do it directly by textbook.
Probably not. I do tell students, because I still meet with them, if you work for the government or you're building a nuclear power plant, you may not use Agile, but
I hope not. We don't want to iterate on those bombs.
Let's not.
Right.
But in most other industries, you're going to see the influence of that.
Yep. I love the Agile methodology and framework just because it gives you an opportunity to understand failure is going to come.
Absolutely.
But the best thing about it is get up and try it again. And I think with the right people in the room, you'll eventually get to the right solution.
Well, and it shares that you can learn as much from what didn't go right as you can from what did go right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's very much like life.
Absolutely.
Yes. You may not know what you want to do when you graduate from high school, but I'm pretty sure there's a long list of things you know you don't want to do.
And if not, I will help you figure those out if you're one of my children. So
I love it. I love it. All right, let's talk about the next question. So what advice would you give to someone considering a career in project management?
I would say it is a great industry to go into, that you can use it in such a variety of fields.
Yes.
I know that I thought at the beginning, oh, I'm going to have to be an IT expert. And you probably remember from when I taught, I struggle to turn on my TV at home. So I am not an IT expert. As my years go on, I'm getting a little bit better at it.
Me too.
I still can't turn on the TV, but I do know turn the computer off and back on when things aren't working right. So don't feel like you have to be a tech guru.
Right.
But if you like to plan things, if you like to take an idea from its concept and see it carried through to the end result, then this is an area you should consider.
Absolutely.
And be open-minded about where you might use that. And then, be prepared for hard work.
Yes, yes.
Project management is not easy, cushy. It takes hard work. It takes time. And it's not something you walk out doing perfectly the first time.
That's right. It takes a lot of work. It takes long hours, and it takes a team. I know I have a coworker, and he would never, ever take credit for anything. It was, we have a team. We did it together. And so that
That's
was
a good
something
point.
that was a nugget I took from my old team member, Dwayne Miller. So, yes. Um, so, how would you bridge the gap between academic knowledge, practical, and real world project management skills?
Volunteer.
Mm,
It's a great way to get your feet wet and practice it.
yes.
Whether it's through sports that your kids are involved in or scouts, whether it's with a church that you're involved at.
Yes.
Maybe it's through something like Habitat for Humanity.
Yes.
But volunteer, be willing to take on leadership roles, and then practice those principles that you've learned, because that's a safe environment to fail.
Absolutely.
Your paycheck's not tied to it.
That's right. That's right. I love that. I love that.
And so
Yeah.
that gives you a chance. I mean, I tried out certain principles at my house because with 5 kids, there were plenty of opportunities to run a team. And I could do it as a dictatorship or, it was a benevolent dictatorship.
That's right.
Or, to practice some of those soft skills and see how they worked. Put together some planning. But the best experience I had was volunteering in different places.
I love that. I love that. I'm just sitting here thinking, even something as simple as Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, how you can take those projects to earn your badges, and those become miniature projects.
They do.
And you can actually put them on your resume and go volunteer with the local Boy Scout or Girl Scout troop, and help those troop leaders. What a great way to get involved, to encourage our children in the community, and get some real world experience.
Yeah, I had folks who were involved with the booster club for their child's football team or with the PTA, and they were like, oh, these same principles apply in these environments. Yes, and it's a great opportunity to practice them. And like you said, then be able to share how you have experience on your resume. Because that was key for me. People would look at me and say, well, you're just a teacher. And I had to be able to show that's my background, but let me share with you how I have used project management through not just in the classroom, but through my church, through volunteering for events with my children.
I love it.
So
I love it. Yes. And so for people out here wondering and listening, how could I get into your shoes and become the department head of a project management course at their local community college or a regular 4-year college? What advice can you offer? What track maybe should they start to put their feet on?
So the first thing I had to do was get my PMP credential.
Get your PMP.
Which everybody hears horror stories, but it's doable.
Right.
I laughed and said, hey, if an elementary school teacher can get her PMP, anybody can do it.
Yes.
It takes time and effort, but it was worth it. And then I volunteered. I volunteered through the PMI chapter, and PMI is the governing body who issues that project management certificate. And they needed someone to help do the instruction for the exam prep class.
Oh, wow.
And so that's where I started. And volunteering and doing some of the training, taking my teaching skills and applying it to the project management.
Okay.
And then it was also networking, because the woman who was helping coordinate that was at the community college.
Wow.
And so, people say, oh, it's about what you know. It also involves who you know.
Absolutely.
And so I encourage people all the time, look at your network of friends. Don't think of it as, I'm using them. No, you're not, because you may be able to return the favor for them someday.
That's right.
But reach out and say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. Do you know of any opportunities? Do you know anyone who might have connections for me to do this? And so take advantage of the folks that you do know and who know you and can help you.
That sounds amazing. And so I've known you all these years, and I didn't know that's how you got your start. So it definitely sounds doable for all of you out there in project management land. If you're really interested in learning the skill, learning the industry, but then using it to teach instead of actually conducting or executing on the project, I think becoming the head of a department is a pretty cool career choice for you.
That's
So,
a lot of fun.
yes.
And you get to meet wonderful people and develop friendships that you
Yes.
never expected
Yes.
to develop.
Your friendship definitely means so much to me, Lee. Immediately, I felt like we were kindred spirits.
Mhm.
We've been connected at the hip since 2016 or so,
Insane.
17,
About the
somewhere in
last
there.
8 years.
Yeah, I'm telling my age now. So, yep. But you were always there.
Oh,
Every step of the way, every job, every headache I had, every, butterfly in my stomach when I wasn't sure if I wanted to take the next leap. You were the whisperer in my ear saying, you can
thank
do
you.
it, you got it. So,
I like being the cheerleader.
yes, and I appreciate it. Before we end today's session, I would like for you to offer some advice. What advice would you give to your students or aspiring managers who want to make the most of their education in project management?
Don't be afraid.
I love it.
Don't be afraid and don't be afraid to reinvent yourself.
Mm.
I didn't approach this. I'm not going to say how old I was. I will just say that, I had kids going to college and now my kids are hitting their 30s. But it was a terrifying step because I thought to myself, can I do it? What happens if I don't succeed at this?
Right.
What's that going to say to my kids?
Yes.
But I think I look back and go, it showed them that I was willing to make the effort.
Mm-hmm.
Showed them mom could still do it.
That's right.
And it's opened doors I never dreamed it would open.
Absolutely.
So I encourage people, don't be afraid. And if it's a path that you get into and you say, you know what, I don't like it, that's all right. You've learned something
That's right.
as you've gone down this path. So use what you've learned to apply it to the next step. Because taking our education is about one step at a time and seeing where it goes. And it may not be a straight line, but that's all right.
That's right.
It's okay.
Yep. Sometimes we have to color outside the lines.
Absolutely. And enjoy where you are in the moment.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Lee, so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us here at Project Mentor Pro and sharing your knowledge and a little bit about what you used to do. And it sounds like project management is still very alive in your life today. And so
It is. And my husband is grateful because it gets him on some great vacations because I do all the planning.
I love
so you
it.
can take what you use at work and use it at home.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you've learned something today from Miss Lee Carpenter, and hopefully you'll tune back in for more.